Hello and welcome to Computer Tech and More. Today we're going to be taking a look at the BioniX 120, and this is part of my redone series where I redid my noise testing analysis. I have a testing methodology piece on my channel if you're curious about the differences, but let's go and get into it with a little bit of a brief explanation and then see the data. And before I go into all this explanation, if you're new to my channel, I encourage you to watch the second half of this video where I go into great detail about each of the graphs and how the fans actually rank, why they rank, and very deep detail, while this section is basically just a broad overview of then versus now as a comparison point, but not go into any detail. All right, so in CPU air cooler performance, the U12A noise normalized, the BioniX P120 was ranked 48th. It is now ranked 35th. So that is a fairly large improvement for this fan and very impressive overall. And it did see an increase in RPM and thus air speed. So it's found to be quieter than in the first analysis. Going at it with 100% PWM fan signaling, there's no change. It retains its position at 22nd. Going on to cooler value performance at noise normalized performance. It was ranked 39th. It is now ranked 8th. So overall, a fantastic improvement in the value proposition for this fan. Cooler at 100% PWM fan signaling value proposition. It was ranked 9th and retains that position. CFM performance noise normalized. The BioniX was ranked 43rd. It is now ranked 30th. A great improvement there. At 100% PWM fan signaling, it is ranked 18th and retains that position. CFM value, noise normalized, it was ranked 18th. It is now ranked 9th, so great improvement in value there. CFM, 100% PWM fan signaling, it's ranked 7th overall. 6-inch noise normalized case simulation test, it was ranked 45th. It is now ranked 29th, and overall a slight improvement in performance. At the 11-inch mark, noise normalized, it was ranked 31. It is now ranked 16th. So again, a great improvement in positioning there. In its value proposition, at the 6-inch mark, it was ranked 19th and is now ranked 7th. And the 11-inch mark value proposition, it was ranked 20th and is now ranked 5th. So overall, a great improvement for this fan in terms of its relative position to other fans. Now, onto the detailed graphs. So first up is my case simulation test. First and foremost, how can you use this data? Well, you use it to determine what performance the fan is for what specific case size you have. So if you're getting a small form factor case, or you want to use these fans as short throw distance fans, in other words, I'm meaning like bottom of your case or top of your case, depending on whether it's an inverted layout, to blow air directly into your GPU, that would be representative of the 6-inch mark. And small form factor, I am referring to an airflow style small form factor that is a front to back airflow with an air cooler. The 9-inch mark is representative of a compact tower. The only one that really comes to mind is like a Dell Optiplex or some other like generic little box. That would be kind of representative of that 9-inch mark, just again, a compact tower. The 11-inch mark is representative of a mid-tower case. Then you have the 14.5-inch mark. That is representative of a large tower. Something like the Fractal Design Torrent would be the 14.5-inch mark. So that would be big cases. So depending on what size case you have is what data point you want to pay most attention to. How do they compare against, well, my control fan? The control fan is what I consider a baseline for a good fan. You want a fan that gets as close to its performance on the following graphs as possible. And right away we see that the P12 basically exceeds my control fan, which is a great result. And I forgot to mention my control fan is based 3 parts off the A12 Extreme 5 to 1 part A14. 140mm fans tend to do a little bit better in my case airflow test. Just the larger fan is able to move a larger column volume of air at once more easily without it spreading out because it's bigger than 120s. So, but 120s tend to do better at the 6 and 9-inch marks, while the 11 and 14.5-inch mark are better for 140s. So blending the two fans together gets me my composite fan for what I'm considered to be good. P12 is in that good category. The BioniX, on the other hand, is sitting pretty poorly. The P14, just as a reference point, is sitting right there. And we got the P12 Max. So again, this was noise normalized. At 100% PWM fan signaling, well, the P12 Max just blows everybody else away because it's spinning at a much higher RPM and is producing more noise. The other fans are grouped nicely around my control fan. None of them have the same quite top end as it, but they are all in a very good performance category. And this is where my case in point about the larger diameter fan comes in. The P14 doing a little bit better than the other fans as you get farther away from the source, i.e. the fan. The BioniX, though, is the bottom performer of the group, sitting a little bit below everybody else. Then how do we compare, or how does it compare against other fans in what I consider grouping category? So I've got the BioniX X, or BioniX, I keep saying BioniX X because the X is highlighted anyways, is sitting right here, sort of at the bottom end of what I consider the middle of the group. The ARGB one sitting underneath it, actually performing significantly worse. So just because the fans share a name does not mean they share performance. How about at 100% PWM fan signaling? So we have the Ice Scale Extra 120. It just spins so fast and blows so much air, it's actually sitting off the graph. But I just wanted to show what a extreme performer was. We've got good, we've got average, and we've got poor performers down here. So the BioniX is sitting at the bottom of the middle of the graph. So it's not a terrible place to be, but there are better fans. Now we're on to performance to my CPU air cooler. It's the Noctua U12A. We are sharing two graphs on this page. The left one is RPM versus airspeed. Airspeed is vertical, RPM is horizontal. The right one is noise versus airspeed, and that is airspeed vertical, noise horizontal on both these two graphs. Better performing fans sit in the top left, worse fans are sitting in the bottom right, and we have my control fan in blue and other fans in the other colors. So on the left graph, it's basically a blade efficiency graph. It's how much air can this fan push at a given RPM. And you want it to be able to push as much air as possible at as low an RPM as possible because that indicates overall better performance. And we see that the P12 is, depending on the RPM, worse or better than my control fan, while the BioniX 120 is close but technically a little bit under my control fan. So it would be considered still pretty good, but just not as good. In terms of noise versus airspeed performance, the BioniX is honestly a kind of poor performer here. Now you do see this little joggle. So this must be where the fan just hits a improvement in performance. So finally it hit a blade efficiency. So they become much more efficient, and that's why you get this little joggle, and then the line actually improves and actually starts looking pretty good. It meets my control fan. So then we have the broad comparison of how does it compare against every other fan I've tested. Well, not every other, but a large selection of other fans. So the BioniX 120 is sitting right here. It is towards the bottom of the graphs, 0.9 meters per second of air. So it's overall not a great position to be in, especially after you take a look at the A12X25 and just the regular P12. How are things looking at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, the Max is sitting at the top, the P12 Max I'm talking about. Here's the BioniX ARGB. Then we have the regular BioniX, and we have the P12 sitting down here. So at some point that extra, or the blade design for pressure application may take over, but certainly the P12 is certainly sufficient. So if you have a Arctic cooler with a P12 on it, I see no reason to replace it with the BioniX. And then we have airspeed versus decibel rating. So the BioniX is sitting right here in this blue line. It starts off pretty poorly, and then it kind of catches up at the bottom middle, and then it catches up right at the end and becomes what I call square in the middle of what would be reasonable fans. So it's only really noise efficient at higher RPMs when a computer is going to be noisier anyways. So it's a little bit harder to justify in my opinion. And if you're wondering about some of these fans where there's joggles off to the side, that's where I believe I hit a harmonic frequency in the fan itself, causing it to become exceptionally noisy. And it could be in the fan itself, and it could be the fan interacting with the box, my case simulation, or the test apparatus, I should say. And it's hard to know exactly which it is without doing more and more testing to deep dive into it. But I think it's just in the fan, but that's one reason why I do want to upgrade my overall testing apparatus. Next up, we have CFM testing. So I don't like CFM testing in terms of testing how good a fan is for case airflow tests. We have RPM versus CFM. CFM is vertical, RPM is horizontal, and better fans are in the top left, worse fans are in the bottom right. And you can see that the fans actually appear to perform much more closely in this test than they did in the CPU cooler or in my case simulation test. It's like case in point for what I'm trying to say about why this test is not good for case airflow, but valid for other things. So any channel that uses CFM only, you probably shouldn't trust them for case airflow fans. CPU cooler is a different story. Next we have noise versus CFM. Noise is horizontal, CFM is vertical, and we see the same sort of trend that we saw on the CPU cooler, just offset a little bit because both the P12 and the BioniX perform under my control fan. How do they compare against other fans? Well, the BioniX is sitting towards the bottom again. But it's not in a terrible position, but it is sitting in the bottom part of this middle pack. So it's overall not a great position for it. How about at 100% PWM fan signaling? I'm sorry, a lot of these colors are similar. When I was originally making it, it looked a little bit different, but highlighted in yellow here is the BioniX, and then this kind of orangey color, the other ones that I wanted to highlight because they had very similar blade design. That's kind of the key point there. And then CFM versus decibels as the main point in the graph. We have pretty much the BioniX is poor performer, and then it gets a little bit better over time to be more in the middle of the graph, and then as we reach higher air speed, so higher RPMs, it becomes more efficient compared to other fans, actually ranking fairly well, but the problem is it's already noisy at that point. So it makes it harder to justify it. Now we're on to the value proposition. The BioniX is a $12 fan. So all these are standard retail pricing that I could find for the fan. So note that if the fan goes on sale, it may jump up in value in relation to the other fans pretty significantly, because at the lower end where fans are cheaper, a couple dollar drop is a huge increase in its overall value. So all that being said, the BioniX is actually sitting towards the top, but it's just a far cry away from the best overall value. So that makes it a little bit harder to justify there. At 100% PWM fan signaling is the same sort of story. It is sitting technically towards the top of the graphs, charts, but it's still a far cry away from the top value picks. Again, not a bad fan, but it's just not the top value pick. At the 11-inch mark, noise normalized and 100% PWM fan signaling, we repeat the same story where it's ranked towards the top, but it's just a far cry from the top value pick. And same story at 100% PWM fan signaling. How about NCFM testing? Well, the story holds true. It sits right towards the top in terms of its value on both of the charts, but it's pretty far offset from the top value picks. So if it got significantly cheaper, like $2, $3, it could actually be ranked really high up there. But at its $12 mark, it is just sitting where it is. How about in the cooler testing? Noise normalized and 100% PWM fan signaling. Well, it's in the upper middle and noise normalized, but well towards the top at 100%. Leaving us with this story. The BioniX, at its standard retail price of $12, is not a top value pick, but it is a good performer overall. It doesn't excel in noise performance, but its overall air movement performance is quite excellent. So my major concerns are in frame design, and I'm not sure if it's included in this video or if you'll have to reference my original video where there's a timestamp for it, where I talk about the open box and like blade analysis of it. I actually go over the frame in that. So I think that this would be only for air coolers. I wouldn't put it on a radiator. And And it's a pretty good pick, but not quite the peak value. So it really comes down to if you like it's a static. And at the end of every video, I like to show off my raw data. So here it is. This data does belong to me. So if you want to use it for your own purposes, for your own calculations, create charts, whatever you want to do, you are more than welcome to do so. However, if you're going to use it in any sort of publication, journal, written, or video, I do ask you to reference me and my channel. I am the one who generated the data, and it belongs to me. So I do thank you for that. If you have a particular fan that you would like me to test that I haven't taken a look at yet, please leave in the comment section down below. If you have constructive criticism on how I can improve my videos to make it more enjoyable to watch, help with flow, anything like that, I do take that very seriously and try to improve. Just know it may take a little while for it to be implemented in my videos because I tend to do a lot of recording all at once in big group, and well, I'm so small that I have a very spread out release timeline. So it may take a while for it to be implemented. But note that your comments, if I can roll it into my videos, I will try to do so. Other than that, please subscribe for more content. I'd really appreciate if you take a look at my Patreon page. It would really go to help me out. Other than that, have a great day, and I hope to see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.